And welcome to Inside the Program, brought to you by the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel, powered by InsideTexas.com. It's Friday. It's team notes, and we got some recruiting stuff. I'm Justin Wells. With me, as always, is Eric Nalin, the managing publisher at InsideTexas.com. Make sure you like this video. Subscribe to the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel. Help us get to that 10,000 mark. And then, hey, everything we talk about even more at InsideTexas.com. Come see us. Come hang out. If you use the promo code IT1, that will get you 2 months for only $1. And really, there is not a better time to join the number one ranked team in the country. The Texas Longhorns are fun, and there's a lot of stuff to cover. Eric, we're going to dive right into it. It's Arch Manning week. Don't get it twisted. Even though it's on streaming service, Arch Manning's first start for the University of Texas is going to be this Saturday against ULM. He took some reps this week with the ones. What was the gist from practice and how he looked this week?
Yeah, it feels like it's going to be a trivia question 10 years from now. What was his first start? What channel was it on? It's just kind of funny, come to the University of Texas, playing these high-profile games, and then the first start is on the SEC Plus network, ESPN Plus. It's pretty funny. Not that Arch cares; he doesn't give a damn. His job is to go out there and play ball. Yeah, he had a good week. They didn't do a whole lot of good on good this week. I think part of that is it's ULM. They're trying to rest people a little bit, not shortchanging the week, but certainly not preparing like it's Georgia. And the team is rather banged up. So there's a lot of scout team. The scouts were thrown to the wolves this week, more so than ones versus twos, one versus ones. But he had a good week. Everybody's excited about him. They feel like he's been prepared for this for a long time. A lot of people know that he's capable of starting this year. When he first signed with Texas, that was the plan for him to start this season. His development is right on time for being a first-year starter. Quinn came back, so he has to wait his turn. But he's ready to start. Everybody's expecting him to have a big game, make a lot of big plays, and then take a seat on the bench.
And that's the exciting part about it. And this is a type of game where you can get a lot of youth on the field. The depth is going to be really used, I think, on Saturday, because we're going to get to see there's some guys banged up. You talked about it in your team report. Sark talked about it yesterday with Phil Sami, with McDonald, with Jaden Blue, with Trey Wisner. How is the depth? Are we going to see a lot more of that youth that we saw kind of against UTSA? Do you feel like we're going to see more of that with ULM before they get into SEC play?
Well, I think so. And, our score predictions coming up on the roundtable are going to illustrate that. We expect to see the backups quite a bit. But, when I posed that question to a source, he said, we should see them. But, first things first, you got to put this team down, put points on the board, play well. And you got to get to that point, and you got to earn the right to play the backups more and more. Just by the nature of how much they rotate, we know we'll see a number of players. But I do expect this to be one of those games where they play 77 players. They played 77 against Colorado State, 77 against UTSA. Maybe they break that record, play 78 this week. I don't know. But it should be one where we see the backups. As for injuries, Sark is rather candid as far as coaches go when it comes to that. When he says guys are game time decision, like Jelani McDonald, Jaden Blue, that's true. I think Blue is probably more likely to play than McDonald, at least as far as how ready he is. I'm not saying he's going to play. I think I lean towards Blue actually seeing the field, maybe getting a few snaps, a few carries. McDonald, I truly do think is a game time decision. Xavier Filsaime didn't play last week. I do expect him to play this week. They're banged up. There's more guys that are playing through injuries. I think that they're going to keep a lot of these guys on a pitch count, try to beat Mississippi State, and then take full advantage of that bye week coming up after that.
We've talked about so many of these players for the first 3 weeks, and you've got the internet guys that are complaining about certain players that aren't getting aren't padding stats or not jumping off the board, but they're still making an impact. These are guys that are still making plays. And I'm going to start with Trey Moore, and there's a handful of other ones that you noted in your morning team notes. Talk a little bit about, even though they're not getting to the quarterback as quickly as possible in Moore's case, or Cole Hudson's still getting run with the runs, but he's technically a second stringer. What are the impact of some of these? Name some of these guys and kind of their impact of what they're having, even though the stats don't actually bear it in the box score.
Yeah, Trey Moore is grading very high every week internally. They don't have any concerns about him. One thing I noted when they got Trey Moore was his sacks come in fits and starts. He might go, with an 0 for one game and get 3 the next. Now, we haven't seen that 3 sack game or anything close to it yet, but that's a function of, what the quarterbacks are doing. There's a lot of bootlegs, a lot of sprint outs. You're not seeing much drop back passing. Michigan was the closest we've seen to drop back passing, and that wasn't really a drop back passing offense, especially with that quarterback. So, I think as we get deeper into it, a game like Georgia's where you're going to really want to see Trey Moore have that impact that fans are wanting to see. I think the coaches are perfectly happy with what they've seen from Trey Moore so far. And yeah, Colin Simmons coming on third down. He's made what he's got. Does he have 2 sacks now? 1 or 2? Yeah, he's got 2 sacks now. People are expecting Trey Moore to have that. They're playing somewhat of a different role, but everybody's happy with Trey Moore behind the scenes. They love his effort, love what he brings to the table, plays the run well, a good teammate, does what he's supposed to do in the drops. I think we'll see more sacks, when they play, teams like OU, Georgia, some of these other schools are going to throw it. There's not a lot of big, scary passing offenses on the schedule, to be honest. I mean, look at Kentucky. They set up to pass the ball well because they run it, and they got a former 5-star, but their passing attack is terrible this season. So I'm not sure that we're going to see him have a huge impact unless it's in those games like Georgia, maybe some of those playoff games when they come across these passing offenses with a pulse.
Yeah, his time will come. And someone else that'll make an impact for you that's Andre the Lawyer. This video is brought to you by the man, Andre the Lawyer. If you are injured, you got to trust the team that has secured millions for their clients and helped thousands of Texans with their injury case. Car wrecks, slip and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, on-the-job injuries, wrongful deaths. Do not let an insurance company tell you what your claim is worth. Andre the Lawyer will fight for you. Principal office is in Dallas, Texas, but he helps Texans throughout the state of Texas. Give him a call if you ever get stuck. Give him a call whenever you need him. He is going to be there for you. Andre the Lawyer at 214-444-8808. It's 214-444-8808. Trey Moore was a guy that isn't, jumping off the box score. There's a few other guys that aren't either, but that doesn't mean they are not contributing and playing well and making an impact. Guys like David Benda, Cole Hudson, Jalen Gilbo. What's kind of the gist you're hearing from the program inside about those guys as well, E?
Yeah, those 3 were the guys named. Cole Hudson, they view them as having 6 starters effectively. I think he played 25 snaps last week. He's just a good player. Like I said, a number of times, he would start for most schools in the country. He could start at Texas, and they wouldn't skip a beat. David Benda, he was another one that caught some shrapnel last week for that long run, that 50-yard touchdown run. Was it last week?
Yeah, UTSA.
Yeah. These weeks are running together during the season. He caught some flack for that. That wasn't his fault. That was not his gap. That was not his responsibility. I asked somebody directly about that, and they said, no, that wasn't on Benda. So, we like to clear the record when we have the opportunity. Benda was mentioned as playing very well this year, sound football. And then Jalen Gilbo, they're head over heels over how he's been playing, living up to the hype that he had throughout the offseason. He created even more of that hype in August. One of the team's leading tacklers. He has a very tough job playing the slot, playing nickel. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to process. Everybody's very excited about what he's doing. And then, of course, he allowed Jahdae Barron to upgrade that boundary corner as well. So, those are guys behind the scenes that are, effectively, 6th men. Or in the case of Hudson, at least, and then Benda and Gilbo are actual starters. But they're playing really good football. A lot of focus is going on other players, but those guys deserve mention as well.
We do a lot of recruiting at Inside Texas, and you had a post this morning talking about the potential for flips incoming. And look, when Texas goes to number 1 in the country, and when they're winning the way they are, recruits want to come. There are literally committed players calling the staff on a regular basis, and that's the fun part for us. We got to be careful how we decipher some of that sometimes. And that's why you got to come to Inside Texas to read it. But just kind of give the viewers a little bit of an idea of what this 2025 class and cycle could potentially become, because they're not done, obviously. They still got 5 or 6 spots, if not an extra one there if they needed it. With some of these guys calling, these are numbers busters, kind of give the viewers a little bit of taste of what this 2025 cycle could actually happen.
Yeah, like you said, it's a delicate situation. And, for people that have read Inside Texas for a long time, they get it. They know how to read the tea leaves, pick up the breadcrumbs and all that. If you're seeing this video for the first time, you think I'm just being a cryptic a-hole, I apologize. It just is a very delicate situation. The better the player, the more difficult to flip. The bigger circus around the circumstances, the harder the flip. It's just, a lot of these are just very tough. You want Texas just kind of work behind the scenes. But, yeah, I put an over-under on at least 5 flips. Now, in a blue sky scenario, they start getting all the guys they want. They're ripping off. They beat Georgia. They're going into the SEC championship game undefeated right around signing day. They could flip 7, 8 guys. I put the number at 5 just to sort of be safe. Now these guys are going to range from good quality players. They don't take anything less than a good quality player. They don't need to. It's a very good head turning, going to make you, celebrate at work sort of flip if they can pull it off. They're putting themselves in great position with a number of guys. They don't really ever, whenever Texas loses a recruit, the first question is, all right, who's next? I'm like, well, that guy's still next. They're going to keep working that guy. They don't care that they lost him in July or June or whenever. They're going to keep pounding the pavement, figure out the angle. They know what school to go to work against now. They know they feel like now it's a 2-team race between them and that school, and they're going to know how to play the margins and work the recruitment in their favor. So right now we're feeling very optimistic. Unfortunately, not all these schools are as defenseless as Florida State was on Myron Charles, where I was easy. It was easy for me to mention Myron Charles a little bit more. Obviously, they lost. To me, it felt like Wardell Mack the year before, where you can just kind of see where this one's going, even without inside information. You should have seen where that one was going. These other ones are good teams, good players. It's going to be tough to pull off some of these flips. Some of them won't even happen, but a good chunk of them will. I think right now 5 is a good number of expected flips going forward.
And it just shows you that Sark and these guys, they're not done. They're constantly taking on senior evaluations. They play the long game, and that's what we do at Inside Texas. Come here for team info, come for recruiting info. Thank you so much for joining us today and making us a part of your day. Come see us at InsideTexas.com and use that promo code IT1, and that will get you 2 months for only $1. And I'm telling you, it really is the best time. Get September, get October. Go ahead and jump on in, man. It really is a lot of fun. Again, thank you for joining us on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel, powered by InsideTexas.com.